Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And IDW is fine, everybody. They're fine.
Oh yes, they're doing great.
It's all good here. IDW Media Holdings, of course, owns IDW Publishing, which prints comic books, which has been in trouble for years. And now there's more discussion about IDW being in trouble because of so many other comic book publishers having problems paying their freelancers. IDW has had problems paying their freelancers for years.
You've even had to wait before to get paid when you actually worked for them.
Yes, when times were good. And again, I want to restate, I don't have any personal issue with anybody I worked with at IDW. The working relationship was fine. Everything was fine on that end. But yes, I do recall having to wait 3 or 4 months sometimes to get paid, and you'd have to go around the bend and back and forth to, get your money. And that was like 8 years ago. So the fact that they're really not doing well now is no surprise. I think the warning signs were there.
Right. Actually, the comic industry in general isn't doing well, but they're doing much worse than the comic industry.
Yeah, my money is on them being one of the next comic book publishers to file for bankruptcy. Of course, Aftershock filed for bankruptcy. Heavy Metal Magazine had to borrow a bunch of money to pay its freelancers because they're coming under fire. And I'm gonna let you in on a little secret here, as someone who worked in the comic book industry. It is the worst kept secret that many smaller comic book publishers have a hard time paying their creatives, or they defer payment as long as they can because the money's not great. This is no secret whatsoever. The reason you haven't heard anything about it is that the comic book industry is small. People talk, and if you start, for lack of a better term, shitting where you eat, you're not going to get any more work.
Right. Even if, you deserve to have, you have a reason to complain, and they deserve for you to complain because they're screwing you over. People are afraid that they're unprofessional if they do that because they'll be punished for it. I mean, that's been ongoing.
Yeah, so people suck it up. They're like, well, I want to work or do work for Dark Horse or IDW or somebody, so I can't go complain about Boom, because a lot of the same people, they go from company to company to company.
Irony. So, funny story about Boom. When they got the duck license, Neon wanted to do, Darkwing? And I know that they wanted to use you, Aaron Sparrow wanted to use you at Boom for Darkwing, Duck, but because you asked questions, and you know what the questions were? Didn't you ask why the numbers were bad on the new books, and maybe, they should do some new stories or something?
Yeah. So what happened was when Boom got the Disney license, and again, having been an approved Disney artist, I kind of carpet bagged from publisher to publisher. Whichever publisher was doing the Disney comics, that's usually where I would work. And other people, it was the same way. It was kind of like a package deal. And I was kind of wondering aloud, I didn't understand why Boom was going with basically Elseworlds versions of the comics, and they weren't using the more established versions.
And their numbers weren't great.
And the numbers were not great. And I was pointing that out. I wasn't being a dick about it at all, but I pointed out in Disney message board. I said, I'm not really sure what Boom is doing. They've got these, they were bringing Wizards of Mickey out, which I was actually pushing pretty hard for Wizards of Mickey to come out at Gemstone, and it never did. And I was like, I think that's a good idea, but I think you also need the meat and potatoes, Uncle Scrooge and Mickey Mouse and whatever. That's all I said. And I got this email from Chip Mosher, the guy from Boom at the time. He was with Comixology. I don't know what he's doing now. But he's like, if you want to get work for us, you better stop talking.
No, but then he wouldn't make sure that he was the reason why they wouldn't hire you.
Yes.
Like when they wanted to hire you for to draw a Darkwing,
yes,
he made sure they wouldn't hire you because you said, hey, you could maybe improve your numbers if you do some of this other stuff.
I was not.
How dare you?
That's the same attitude.
I'm trying to help them.
The same thing that got us into talking about comics and got us lumped in with Comicsgate and all that.
So people keep saying we're Comicsgate even though we're not.
Here on YouTube is just questioning the state, the health of the comic book industry was enough to get us listed, whatever. Because you're not allowed to talk about
Nicks.
You're not allowed to talk about it. That's the thing. There are major problems, financial problems in the comic book industry, but basically everybody has to smile and put on a good front.
But nothing changes.
And nothing
gets fixed. It takes people completely voting with their wallet and making sure they call it out publicly, the issues. And even then they try to fight it, but nothing gets fixed. And sometimes people, are legitimately being assholes, and sometimes people just want things fixed.
Yeah.
But yeah, you aren't allowed to apparently say, hey, they aren't paying me, because then it might mean you might not get any more work that you're not paid for. Where's the downside?
Yeah, where's the that's like I tell
How can it get worse?
That's like I tell people. It's like, what's the worst that can happen? You get blacklisted from an industry that doesn't
Pay you.
It doesn't pay well, and if you get paid at all, so there is no downside. So let's
go make some Sonic fans salty.
Yeah, let's make some. So what kicked this off? And before we get into anything further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys.
Yes, thank you.
We did get into that.
Almost up to 284,000.
Yes.
Yeah, you know the spiel.
And the more angry people get, the more interaction we get on our channel. So suck it. Come over here and
let the anger flow.
Let the anger flow. So yeah,
let the money flow.
So we had a rando on Twitter, and I'm gonna do them a favor and hide their username on Twitter.
They already blocked me because I nicely, I wasn't even mean, told them they were wrong.
Because we don't want to be accused of sending our army of nasty trolls after them or anything.
They just get bent to me after they blocked me. Anyway.
Okay, you get this one pass, right? You get this one pass. Anyway, they said you sourced a Clownfish TV video who are known to over-exaggerate. Actually, we under-exaggerate because they think IDW is woke or something.
We never said that.
I never said that. If you actually watched our video, and I refute every point here. If you actually watched our videos, I actually did do some work for IDW, and I know people who worked fairly recently for IDW. Two, we've been talking about the situation objectively from a business standpoint for years. Yeah, just to the point, we're going to talk about IDW specifically, but we have been talking about the entire comic book industry. And
anybody who watches our videos knows that.
Yeah, and the thing is that right now there's a huge discussion about people not getting paid. People are talking about IDW again for two reasons. One, they're the most likely candidate, I think, to default on paying people because of their financial situation. Like everybody that was there when I was there is no longer there. They left or they got ousted or whatever. I mean, it really is just that there was a bit that George Carlin did. And I don't remember the exact context, but he talked about life preservers on airplanes being a pillow full of beer farts. IDW is clinging to a pillow full of beer farts at this point, which is they're hoping they're going to get like a Netflix or a Hulu deal or something, but streamers are kind of imploding now too. They're not spending money.
They're not. So it's not as likely as it was a few years ago. And then their stocks are like in the gutter.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So yesterday I pulled it up under $1, 90 cents. Now I think they're actually up today. They're up to a whopping 99 cents. Now
that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Now here's what happens. And again, this isn't just us. This is many other media outlets that have been covering IDW losing money for like 5 years.
It made it to $1.
They made it to $1. I'm wondering, since there's been a lot of discussion about IDW dipping under $1, if there's some shenanigans going on here, because
I wouldn't pay more than 90 cents.
Well, okay, so if you stay under $1 for 30 consecutive trading days, you get delisted from the stock exchange.
So then suddenly it goes up to $1.
Suddenly it goes up to $1 something. And I know that they have like investors on speed dial or whatever, that somebody would come in and buy it cheap, probably just to inflate it to stay in there. So
to me that's losing money though, because you when stocks is down low, you buy it up if you think the stock has a chance of gaining momentum and rebounding. This is not one of those stocks. I just don't see it going back up to the $45 or whatever it used to be.
No, there are a lot of things going on here. Again, if you go out and you actually follow IDW for the last several years, you can see the decline. I mean, Bleeding Cool has been covering it. And again, they're not going to accuse IDW of wokeness at Bleeding Cool, but they've been covering it for years, since 2017. IDW has been hemorrhaging money. We've covered before that they are losing licenses. They just lost Transformers.
I wonder why they lost G.I. Joe.
And yeah, right. And they're losing licenses because it's just the numbers aren't there. And there was a huge debacle with G.I. Joe. Now, what's weird about IDW is they spent a lot of time chasing Hollywood deals, chasing Netflix deals. And I think the only thing that really happened, they had a couple get picked up, but the only one that was even remotely somewhat successful was Lock and Key. And that was never even close to like Stranger Things. I think that's what they're hoping
But they still
for.
did something with it. But even with that, their stock was down to 90 cents yesterday.
Yeah, they actually had a board game division which was profitable. I mean, that's what shocked me. Like their whole thing is like they're not content to just be a comic book publisher and just do that better than anybody else, which is kind of what they started doing. They're going to Icarus themselves, trying to chase Hollywood.
And they already did Icarus themselves.
And right now is not a good time to chase streaming deals.
It's like they're falling and they're sticking a couple extra feathers onto themselves, so then they go up a little bit, but then they lose those ones again, and then
Yeah, so I saw this. This is the new head honcho, I guess, over at IDW.
How old is he?
He's been around the block, right? So he let's see here, Alan Grafman came in August, and he's like the third or fourth boss at IDW. But right after he comes in, or right before he comes in, they announce a whole bunch of stuff. We've got series in development based on graphic novels and comics.
That doesn't mean that they're actually going to be greenlit. Their development isn't the same thing.
Haven't you been paying attention?
Well, these are all things the places that are cutting.
Yeah, they're all cutting.
Cartoon Network, because they cut stuff. HBO Max, cutting stuff.
Yeah, and being in development. Look, I always tell people that until it's not even about the check clearing. I said, don't get excited about a deal until the check clears, and then don't get excited about it until it actually materializes. There are people, they always announce this in the trades and Deadline, Variety, all that. So-and-so's comic book got optioned. So-and-so's going to get a movie produced by, God, how many years have they been waiting on Amulet movie, the graphic novel series Amulet, which sold pretty well. And it was like Will Smith was supposed to be doing it, and then it got kicked over to someplace else and kicked over to someplace else. And it never actually happened. People get paid money for the option. We know because we've had stuff optioned. You get paid money for them to have the option of producing something. And a lot of times they will get into development. They could even get really far into it, like Mouse Guard over at 20th Century Fox. Nimona, they had to scrap it and start over again with a different animation company. But and they've Mouse Guard, they were pretty far into production. They pulled the plug on it. And
that was upsetting. They were
it looked good. Yes. It looked really good. And right now it's just like...
Well, they had Scooby... it's not like option, but they had it was the Scooby-Doo show completely done. Yeah. And they just...
If they're canceling Scooby-Doo, which probably would have been guaranteed money based on it, being... recognizable IP, what makes you think they're going to take a chance on spending a shit ton of money on comic books that nobody has ever heard of before? I'm just saying, this is not a good plan. So then right after that, this thing came out just a couple days ago. He's got this whole thing, basically a pitch to come to IDW. I don't know if anybody else has talked about this.
Wait, what?
Creatives, this is Alan Grafman. Creatives want to know that they and their projects will be in the hands of astute, savvy, contemporary-minded, experienced development executives.
How many adjectives they got in
track records. That studio can surround their project with an outstanding marketing campaign, fully manage the project through its life cycle, add caring and nurturing to the next.
I don't think IDW is going to be around through its life cycle.
No, bottom line, it takes great development production execs to attract great creatives. Having been active in media for quite some time, we have seen firsthand what is most important in our industry. During my tenures at Tribune, Hallmark, Archie Comics, Archaea Boom Studios, now CEO of IDW, the keys to success haven't changed much. Success is driven by company culture, company reputation.
Yeah, well, you're already screwed there.
Personal relationships, the ability to attract the best possible creative. Our mission statement is partner of choice. And then he just goes
Why
on.
would they be the partner of choice for a place that their stock is just bottomed out? And they basically got rid of their profitable game division because they're just trying to pitch shit to HBO.
I know, right? So this is just like a week or two ago. It's just like,
that sounds like desperation.
This is desperation. Please bring your stuff to IDW.
And meanwhile,
so we
they
can
were turning away stuff. People were trying to get creator-owned stuff picked up by IDW because at one point in time they were running with creator-owned stuff, and then they basically said, "Well, we've got all these licenses. We don't have time for creator-owned stuff." And now they're like, "We need creator-owned stuff again." Well, I'm sorry, but they'll own it, but someone else created.
Yeah, this kind of pisses me off because we actually, when I was freelancing for them, we were trying to pitch them a reboot of Shadowbinders and Crimson Wren, and they said they don't do creator-owned. And they really weren't at that point. They were making too much off of Hasbro stuff. But now they're losing all their licenses. Now they're like, oh, let's do some creator-owned stuff. I'm like, at this point, what creators are going to trust you with their IP when your stock is $1? It's not even the fact that it's $1. It's the fact that it has dropped from like $50 a share to a
Well, not
buck.
just that.
Less
I
than a
mean, we
buck.
have musical people in charge, like every few months there's somebody else there. Their stuff just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. It keeps dropping. It's not doing that well. They keep losing their licenses from Hasbro and stuff because, they're not doing that great. And then they're like, bring your stuff over here. And that's cool if you have a good idea. However, I'd be really careful about that because you might sign on to something. That doesn't mean it's going to get anywhere because if they run out of money or if it tanks before you get anywhere, then what happens to your project?
And we've seen this time and time again, and this is happening with a lot of publishers. We're going to see that it's kind of the Platinum Studios. Google that. Platinum Studios basically existed. Kind of reminds me of Aftershock. They were basically laundering comic stories to try to get stuff optioned. That was their end goal, was to get stuff optioned. And it sounds to me like IDW, they're just hoping one of these ideas are going to stick.
I mean, if you want to pitch and they want to pick it up, make sure you have a darn good lawyer go over those contracts and make sure that if they go under, you
can get your stuff back.
Yeah.
Because there were creators with Platinum Studios 15 years ago, but go look it up. They had their IP locked down. Same with Tokyo Pop, it happened too, but that was the deal they signed where they couldn't get their stuff back
unless they paid it back.
Unless they paid back the advance or whatever.
So yeah, if I were you and you were interested in because they're looking for ideas apparently, I'm not telling you not to, but what I'm telling you is make sure you cover your ass.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would be very hesitant at this point.
I sure as heck wouldn't do it without a good lawyer.
No, absolutely not. But that's anything, any kind of deal like
right.
this.
But in this case specifically, I'm saying make sure you have a really good lawyer look at contracts.
Wear triple condoms, just in case.
That was weird, but anyway.
We're gonna
cut the circulation off just in case. Go ahead.
We're gonna wrap this one up, right? Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.